About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free. Let's go, let's be free.
Good evening, it's Jim here at Tutor You, and welcome to our third A-Level Geography, AQA A-Level Geography live revision session. And this session we've got Suzanne and Alice. Suzanne on the left, Alice in the middle. That means I am on the right. And this is the first of two sessions on the changing places topic. So Suzanne, Alice, who's going to lead off and explain how the session works and what you'd like us to do?
Yeah, I'll take that. So yeah, changing places. We split it between two sessions. So this week we're going to be looking at lots of key terms, key concepts, and next week we plan to focus on skills.
Fantastic.
So that's the plan.
Great stuff. We've got
two human topics. Sorry, Jim.
No, I was going to say we've got the chat window. Lots of people logging in. Loads and loads of people logging in as we speak. So maybe some people have not done these things before. We've got the chat window if you'd like to have a go with a question, suggest an answer on the MCQs, or type in the answer. I think it's great, isn't it, if we can get people typing stuff in as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Much more fun if we can see people interacting and we can see the answers and see how you're all doing. That makes sense. Brilliant. So we've got some multiple choice questions for you today. We've got a connection wall for people that have joined us before, and we've got some pictures and timed activities. So lots to do today.
I'm pretty fast paced, so we have to, we'll be cracking through it fairly quickly, but maybe we'll keep an eye on the chat window and try and pick up on any questions as we go.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Right. Well, shall we make a start?
Yeah, let's make a start with the MCQ. Thank you.
Let's go for it.
Okay, just a few multiple choice questions here to get you started. First one, a shorthand definition of the key term place is it A, locale plus perception, B, space plus meaning, C, location and representation, or D, location and perception. So just a really shorthand version of what you understand by the term place within the changing place topic. Have a go. Type A, B, C, or D in the chat window. Thank you. Lots of speedy answers there. Well done. And I can see that lots of you are going for B, space plus meaning. So that's exactly right. Places are spaces that people have given give meaning to. Thank you. Next question. Each place has a different meaning to different people and is therefore highly A, objective, B, personal objective, C, personal and subjective, or D, subjective and detached. Which is the correct way to finish that sentence? Each place has a different meaning to different people and is therefore highly something. Have a go. Type your answer in the chat window. Lots of people having a go, lots of great geographers. And of course, the answer is C, personal and subjective. So well done. I see lots of people got that one right. Next question. Exogenous factors are, now get you thinking here, is it A, internal influences that shape the character of a place? Are they B, local intrinsic characteristics? C, external influences that shape character of a place? Or D, genius loci? Have a guess, A, B, C, or D. And straight away, I can see loads of people have got it absolutely right and they've gone C, external influences. So exogenous factors are external influences that shape the character of a place. It might be, for example, the distance to the capital city. If you're within commuting distance of the capital city, that might affect the range of services and the range of industries in a place. Thank you. What is an endogenous factor then? So we thought about exogenous. What's an endogenous factor? Is it A, an external force or influence, such as foreign capital? B, an external influence? C, an external influence such as location or topography? Or D, a local internal characteristic? Have a go in the chat there. I think Rebecca was first, but loads of people going for the right answer there. It is, of course, a local internal characteristic. So D, so something that is actually linked to the place where you live. So it could be, for example, the geology. The local geology is often reflected in the landscape, of course, but also reflected in perhaps the colour of the buildings, if it's used as a local building material. Next question, please. What is an experience place? Is it A, a place in which a person has actually spent time? B, a place only read about or seen on film? C, a place with a large elderly population? Or D, a place which has little or no personal meaning? What do you think? A, B, C, or D? Have a go. And well done to lots of you getting this right here. Hakal, Abby, TB, Elizabeth, Grace. It is, of course, A, a place in which a person has spent, in contrast to what we might term a media place that you'd only seen on film. Next question, please. Now I think I'm handing over to Suzanne here. Carry on, Suzanne.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're looking at this question is actually about altered vowels. So you're going to be shown a word next or a phrase, and it's had all of the vowels changed to an alternative vowel. Now your job is to see if you can work out what the geographical term is. Okay, so if we can reveal, please, the altered vowel. So remember, take out all the vowels and replace them with an alternative vowel to see if you can find out what word might be linked to your changing places unit of work. Oh, I can see some good, very, very, very quick off the mark there. That definitely was quickest on the buzzer there, wasn't it? Brilliant. So if we could have a reveal, please. It is indeed attachments. So this is a really important concept in changing places because looking at the attachment to place is really important in the humanistic school of study of place. Many of you will have heard of Yifu Tuan, who included the idea of attachment when he looked at belonging, identity, and the personal emotional responses to place. Right, if we can have the next activity, please. Oh, so here, remember what you've got to do is identify what you think the missing, the altered vowels are. Yeah, I've got some strong answers coming straight away. Brilliant. Okay, so if we can have the reveal, please. Fantastic. So place meanings. So these are the kind of identities that are made by a place. Now, these can be subjective and they can be personal, or they could be made by placemakers trying to create meaning for a place. Right, could we have the next altered vowel question, please? Here we go. Okay, remember it's the vowels that have been altered. So try to work out what you think it would be. Yeah, good. Great stuff. I can see some correct answers coming through on the live chat there. Really good, strong stuff tonight. Brilliant. Okay, can we have the reveal then, please? So these are economic characteristics. So these would be features of how an area's economy is structured in terms of its employment, the industry, trade, and the creation of wealth. And it's likely that you have looked at this when you've been looking at either your local or your distant case study. And possibly through census data, you may well have looked at the employment structure of your chosen case study. Great. Could we have the next challenge, please? Right, so this is a 30-second challenge. You are going to have 30 seconds to try to explain how flows of people can impact the character of a place. Okay, so we'll start the timer now. Pop your answer into the chat box. Okay, and I think some of you might have been slightly stumped by that one, because this is looking at the flows of people, and part of the syllabus is really needs you to have a look at how either migration or the growth in population has affected your particular local or distant case study. So you might have had some significant impact from in-migration or possibly out-migration, where the population of the place would have risen or fallen. It could be that your place had seasonal migration. It could have been a tourist resort, or maybe an agricultural area where you have an influx of additional people during the summer season, or even somewhere where commuters and daily flows of people might have affected the place. So, for example, very often CBDs and high streets are very empty at night. Right, okay, if we could have our next activity, please. Okay, so can you explain how endogenous factors can contribute to the character of places? Great. Okay, so thank you. So when we're looking at this one, if we can have the reveal, please, we're actually looking at some of those internal characteristics. So something like geology. Now, this can actually affect the building materials and maybe the style of the housing. And the example given there is miners' housing using slate, which is often very commonplace in North Wales. The architectural vernacular of a particular place can really be affected by the availability of the types of stone locally. It might also be affected by relief and drainage patterns, which might have restricted its growth or led to its growth potentially in a linear pattern. So remember, these are the internal characteristics. Right, I think we're on to another onto a picture grid now. So I'm passing back over to Alice. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Great. Okay, so we're going to have 6 questions, and as we answer each question, it's going to reveal a little bit of a picture. So I want you to have a go answering the questions, and we've got some kind of blanks within each question. You've got to guess the word, but also have a think about what the image might be. So we've got 2 things going on at the same time. Okay, so let's have the first question, please. E, something C, refers to how an area's industries and job types may evolve over time. So looking for some words beginning EC, or a key term beginning EC, refers to how an area's industries and job types may evolve over time. What do you think? Key terms beginning E and C. Okay. Great, we've got 3 people got it. I'm going to say, let's see the answer, please. Economic change. So this is how it's working, answering a question with a key term, and then showed us a little bit of that picture. Start thinking about where that might be. Something beginning with I refers to money or resources entering an area, usually bettering it. Well done, Emma. I think you were first. Jessie, Abby, Elizabeth, Alexander. Let's have the answer. Investment. Yeah, investment refers to money or resources entering an area, usually bettering it, depending on how it's been invested, but absolutely. Let's have the next question. We've got a bit more of the picture. Start thinking about where that might be. I haven't seen anyone have a guess yet. Which R is a scale which refers to areas within a country, e.g. Yorkshire, or e.g. East Anglia? What R? It's a key scale for geographers. And loads of people getting that right. It is, of course, region or regional scale. Great. And we're going to get a little bit more of the picture. What is the TT movement? An example of locals shaping places. TT. Have you learned about that? Where people do all sorts of clever things to regenerate an area, but it's changed from the local people. Okay, if you're an OCR student, don't worry too much, but have a go where you can. I've got 1 correct answer. Safia and Will, well done. Of course, it is the transition town movement. Don't panic if you hadn't heard about it, but there are transition towns all over the country, including Totnes and I believe Brixton, where locals have made positive changes in their area. I've got quite a lot of the picture now. I'd like to see some guesses in the chat as well. What do we call those who drive change in places? So think about this bit of the spec. Is there a collective name for the people or the things, perhaps companies, who drive change in places? Alexander's quick off the mark. Yeah, absolutely. We might be going with that, Amy, particularly if you're doing Edexcel. And Will's got the right answer. Stakeholders isn't bad, but let's see what the answer is. Okay, agents of change or forces of change is what we're talking about. Stakeholders is slightly different in terms of the people that are affected by a change in a local area, but the agents of change are the ones that are moving things along. So these might be people of influence, they might be companies, they might be the local government or the national government perhaps. And then last one, which B refers to how attached people are to places and how much they feel a part of them. What do you think? A key term beginning with B. It's about attachment. Brilliant. 3, 4, 5, 6 people got it. Let's have the answer then. So the answer is belonging. Right. We're looking at a picture. It's a place you might have studied, possibly as an example of a place that is shaped by waves of immigration. I'd like to see a guess in the chat. Where do you think this might be? Somewhere in London. Have a go. There are some clues in the picture. Ah, 2, 3 correct answers. Keep going, have a go. If you haven't chucked your answer down, loads of good answers. Right, okay, let's have the answer, please. It's Brick Lane. Some of you will have studied this as a key location that geographers have looked at over time in terms of the influence of waves of immigration affecting industry, affecting the culture, places of worship, the cityscape, all sorts. Okay, thank you, Jim. Next. So we'll go with the big reveal now. This is, I'm going to give you 5 clues and you need to tell me what the key process is that we're talking about here, the key process. So let's have the first clue. Okay, it's a term that was coined by somebody called Ruth Glass in 1964. It's quite a tough one, but they get easier as we go on. Thinking about a process of change. We better have the second clue. I think that's too tough. The process involves an influx of more affluent residents and businesses. Okay, I think we could have a guess on people now. We've got some really top geographers. Yeah, some people getting it right already. Right. Clue 3, an example of an area that has undergone this is Notting Hill. So Notting Hill in North London. Have you seen the film, Jim? I wonder. Clue 4. Current inhabitants are sometimes displaced by rising rents. Okay, so it might be a process of change that's not entirely seen as positive. That's a hefty clue, that one, isn't it? And 5. An example of an area that has undergone this is Islington. Oh, somewhere else in London that has experienced some big changes. Loads of people got it right. Jim, let's have the answer. It's gentrification, and as we've seen, this process of change where buildings are invested in, but potentially the population changes as services perhaps no longer meet the needs of local people, is tinged with a bit of a sense that local people are often forced out in the process of gentrification. Right, we've got one more big reveal for you. So same idea. Here's the first clue. What's the process? This process began in the UK around the 1960s. So a key process shaping places. And clue 2, please. One cause was competition from emerging economies in Asia. So think about what might have been threatened or changed, affected, perhaps negatively affected by added competition. Great contributions in the chat there. An example of an area that's undergone this is Detroit. So Detroit in the US, you might have studied it, or maybe not. Lots of people getting it right now. Question 4, or sorry, clue 4 rather. Areas that have been through this process often need regeneration. And if we think about the center of Detroit, that's certainly gone through some regeneration recently in the last 10 years or so. And clue 5. An example of an area that's undergone this is also the London Docklands, so closer to home. Loads of people have got it. Of course, the answer is deindustrialization. So well done to everyone that got that right. Brilliant. I'm going to hand over these top geographers to you, Suzanne.
Okay, right. So 30-second challenge. You've got one more here. Can you please, in your 30 seconds, explain one way which money and investment might change people's lived experience? So have a go and pop that in the chat. I want to see some really good responses, please. Oh, we've got some coming in now. All right, get your answers down. Fantastic. Right. Can we have the reveal, please? Right. So one way in which money investment can actually change people's lived experience is through one of those reveals we've just been having a look at, regeneration. And I suspect that some of the case studies you might have covered will have included regeneration because it's a really good topic to look at in changing places. And it could lead to the improvement of housing, whether that's building new housing estates and flats, affordable homes or luxury apartments, and also local facilities. Now, again, as we heard before, very often this type of regeneration can trigger gentrification. And of course, then with some of the negativity that comes with that, with rising house prices, a change in facilities, so maybe some of the local population who originally lived there would start to feel more like outsiders. They might feel less welcome in an area that they'd lived in for a long time as newcomers come into the area. Right, can we have the next activity, please? Brilliant. So another 30 seconds. Can you please explain how shifting flows of investment might change either the demographic characteristics, so that's population, or the socioeconomic characteristics, so that's kind of employment and other factors linked to work and money, the characteristics of a place, please? Right, I can see we've got some answers coming in now. Brilliant. Oh, Stratford, yes, good case study. Fantastic. Right, can I have the the reveal, please? So of course, money and investment creates more jobs, particularly if large companies or TNCs potentially invest in an area. And that's going to attract more people, particularly younger people, to move into the area to take up those job opportunities. And again, this is all linked with that idea of gentrification. So could end up forcing up the house prices and the rental prices, and also can change the kind of composition of the services, the shops and the facilities in the area. And again, perhaps create some tensions between the original inhabitants of an area and the incomers. So some really strong answers I can see. Lots of you have linked those to the case studies that you've been studying in school. Right, I think if we could have our next challenge, please. Right, so can you please describe one way in which you think corporate bodies can try to influence or create a specific place meaning? 30 seconds, here we go. Ah, some good links to what you've been learning. Great to see you making these connections. Brilliant. Okay, so can we have the reveal, please? Okay, so there's lots of different types of corporate bodies, and they will try to manipulate and create a perception of a place for their own kind of purpose or for a particular outcome. Very often they'll rebrand it to try to appeal to visitors and residents, and it's likely that you might have done a case study on this and looked at how an area has been advertised. You might have been looking at different media and different forms of media of how they've tried to create a certain meaning. Very often, photographs can be quite cleverly taken from certain angles to show a very or a certain perception of a place, or create a certain image of a place, which might not actually be representative of the whole place. But yeah, so slogans, it says their slogans, adverts and brochures could be used. Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Can we go to the next one? Right, so here we have got a connection wall. Now, for those of you who haven't played this before, and for those of you who have, what I will do is explain what you need to do. So this has got 16 different terms there. Now, we are looking for 4 groups of 4 words. I'm going to give you a clue. And what I want you to do is try to find the first 4 words which are linked to this clue. So the first clue is legislation which can influence change. Okay, so legislation, or I'm going to say groups which can influence change. So if you can put into the chat box the 4 words from that connection wall which you think going to link to that clue. Yes, I've got 1 coming through. You've got 1 of the words. What are the 4? Try and see if you can find 4 of them. So I'm going to just give the clue again. It's either legislation or groups that can influence change. I've got some coming through now. Yeah, it absolutely cheated to you. It does get much easier. The more words that get guessed, it gets easier as we get fewer. Okay, right, I've got some strong answers coming through now. I can see. Well done, Rebecca, TB, Amy D. We've got some good stuff coming through. Right, so can we have our reveal, please? So here we go. We've got government policies. So whatever the government decides, you might have looked at through changing places, and actually links in with some of the other units like contemporary urban environments. Government policy changes over time. So these can have quite a dramatic impact on events or decisions that are made within a location. Obviously, decisions of TNCs can be really instrumental in an area's success or even its decline. And again, by the sounds of it, lots of you have studied Detroit and probably will have looked at the decline of industry and deindustrialization. Regional investment plans. So these will be targeted money in specific areas. So an area might benefit from that. And international conventions. So there could be decisions that are made at an international level that will have an impact on a local area. Right, our next clue, so it's going to get easier because now we're down to 12 words. Our next clue is these are subjective forms of depiction or description. Okay, so subjective form of depiction or description. So pop in the chat box the 4 words you think are linked to that clue. Okay, a form of depiction or description. Oh, well done. Got some coming through, a few correct answers, a few with a few bits in there. There might be something, one of the other categories we're going to look at. Right, well done. I think I've got good enough range there. So can we please reveal? Here we've got advertising. Okay, so advertising copies. We've got tourist agency material. I'm sure lots of you have seen that if you've been on holiday or even in your local area. There's often brochures to pick up about that represent a certain area, trying to attract tourists in. You've got local art exhibitions. Again, very subjective. It's personal representation of a place through paintings and poems. And some of you might have even done some of the past questions where there's been some poems included in some of the practice questions about different places. And it's quite interesting to see a poet's perspective on a place. Right, okay, so getting easier and easier. We're down to our third clue. These are individuals or group-based attachments. Okay, so individual or group-based attachments. Thank you for tutor to you. So pop your answer into the chat box if you can, please. Individual or group-based attachments. Oh, well done, Macy. Great stuff, yeah. I can see lots of you got the right answers there. Right, let's have the reveal. Okay, so you can see there, localism is perhaps when you feel very strongly about your local area. Often leads to something called NIMBYism, not in my backyard. That's where people often get quite cross and will get into conflict if there's any new developments, if people want to build maybe a housing estate in a particular area. Localism tends to be rise, and people feel quite strongly they want to preserve the character of their local area. Nationalism, that's feeling strongly about your nation, very similar to patriotism, okay? And regionalism might be more about the region that you come from. So it might be either the county or it could be a part of the UK, okay? Right, so that leaves us with our last four, which of course, you can see a global, national, regional and international. So why don't you pop in the chat box and tell me what you think the clue for this one would be. Okay, so see if you can work out what you think the clue for this one would be. I'm going to get some. Yeah, we got it there. Good, great stuff. Right, scales. Yeah, so these are the important scales that we study geography on. Remember, that's really important for your assessment objective 2 to make sure you've got lots of different, assessment objective 1 to make sure you've got your different scales in your, particularly in your 20 mark essays. Brilliant. Okay, I think I'm passing on. Let's see. Oh no, I'm still here. So, so we've got 3, 2, 1. We're going to have 90 seconds to answer these 3 questions. So you're going to have to put 3 things down for the first one, 2 for the second, and 1 for the third one. So 3 ways external agencies can influence or create place meaning. 2 contrasting ways places can be represented. And 1 past and present process of development which can influence place. It's going to be tight to type this up in time. Give it a go. Oh, I can see some of you already coming through with your first 3. Okay, so I think our 30 seconds is up. So I'm not sure everyone had enough time there, but let's give it a go anyway. So these are just 3 examples. Remember, there could be other things that you've studied in class, but some examples here are maybe private developers building it says 1-bedroom flats to attract yuppies or other professionals. The second one there could be the local councils. They could encourage sense of community by building or maintaining allotments. And the third example there, you've got private organisations which can be employed to re-image places. And actually, I saw quite a few of you talking about that in the chat. An example is Bryant Park in New York City. Right, let's go for the 2 reveal. So this was 2 contrasting places, ways places could be represented. So it could be a photograph. Now, photographs are really interesting to study, and I suspect lots of you have used a lot of photographic evidence. What you've really got to question is the motive or the purpose of the photographer. What was the destination, or where was that photo going to be published? What was its purpose? And might give you an indication of perhaps some of the motivations behind why that photo was taken. And secondly there, you can see a song. So lots of you might have studied songs in class, and the example there is actually one of a lived experience of crime in an otherwise homely neighbourhood. You might have some good examples of some songs that you know or have heard that actually represent a place in a different way from perhaps how other people perceive it. Right, let's have a look at our final one, please. Okay, so this was past and present process and development that can influence place. Now, this is featured a fair bit in this revision session, and it's deindustrialization. So here we can have enormous amounts of deprivation and dereliction in many places across the Western world that were heavily affected by deindustrialization. But equally, I saw quite a few of you put in the process, I think, of gentrification. So that potentially could also have been an answer. Right, I think that draws us. Oh no, we've got a picture quiz. So I'm going to now pass over to Alice, I think, for our final task.
Thank you, Suzanne, for that marathon contribution. We're on our last activity, people, now. So we've got a picture grid again. We've got 6 questions. We're going to try and reveal the picture stage by stage. Don't forget to tell me if you think you know where it is, as well as the answers. Okay, first one. It is said that placemaking shapes the actions and something of individuals. What might that word be? It begins with a B. So placemaking shapes the actions and something of individuals. What does it shape? So word beginning with B, and Jack and others have got it absolutely right. And the answer is behaviors. So placemaking is about rebranding, regeneration, and change. And it's about trying to change the actions and behaviors of people. For example, lead to less open drug use. Oh, a little bit of the picture there. Paintings and songs are said to give something to that of more official statistical sources. So painting and songs are said to give something beginning with C, something beginning with I, to that of official statistical sources, like something like the census. So paintings and songs are providing a different perspective. They're providing a different, something beginning with I. Have a go. What do you think? And let's have the answer, please. Contrasting images. Our cultural insight was a good idea. Contrasting images was what we're after. Next question, please. Demographic, socioeconomic, and something characteristics of places are shaped by shifting flows. Okay, so when we think about a place and we're interested in the changing characteristics, we might look at demographic, socioeconomic, and something else characteristics. I can see some people are on the ball with this one. Well done to keep going right until the end. Well done, Jessie, Anita, and Grace. Absolutely right. The answer is cultural. And a bit more of the picture, please. Okay, I haven't seen any guesses yet. What is a measure of deprivation which ranks neighbourhoods across the country? So we're thinking about England, and we're ranking areas according to deprivation. What is that ranking called? It's something that the government do. Well done, Sally. Anyone going to write it out longhand? Ah, people having a go. And some people guessing at the location. The answer, of course, is the index, the English index of multiple deprivation, which ranks neighbourhoods across the country, and it's not Stratford. What term is used by planners to describe the key characteristics of a place with which any new developments must concur? So this is like a planner's term where they try to look at the local characteristics and think, right, let's try and make this new development in keeping. So the planners have a special word for endogenous characteristics, if you like. I'm going to help you out because time's running on. And the answer is genius loci. So you might have heard that. That's a kind of a planner's term for key characteristics. Few people having a good guess here. Let's have the last question. What do we call the perspective of a person who has lived or is living in a certain place? The perspective of someone who lives there, who knows it inside out, we might say. Thank you for those people having a go in the chat. Let's see the answer, Jim. It's the insider perspective. Yes, someone who knows how the place works compared to, say, an outsider perspective. And of course, those people that said this is Detroit, we are looking at a view of Detroit. We're looking towards downtown Detroit at the Renaissance Center, which was a big investment project that didn't quite work. And we can see the sort of level of dereliction, perhaps we might call it the drosscape, in the areas around that downtown area because of deindustrialization. Okay, well, that's it then. Well done to everyone that contributed. I think we've got tons of really excellent human geographers, wouldn't you say, Suzanne?
Oh, yes, sorry.
So we're back. Yeah, I was just trying to work out what that picture was.
Yeah. It's Detroit.
Yeah. Solihull.
Central Detroit. Yeah.
I was close with Cheltenham and Solihull.
Was that your guess? Sorry.
Yeah.
I saw Stratford. Someone else said Hartlepool. No.
Yeah, that was me guessing as well. But yeah, and having seen it now, I can see it is. You're right, it is. Fantastic. Wow, we've covered so many key terms there, haven't we? There's loads of stuff we've covered there on that session. Fantastic stuff.
I hope that was really useful, and we'll do a bit more of a skillsy focus next time. We're aware that everyone's doing different local and distant places. And, I was going to say, don't panic if you haven't done Detroit, no reason why you have to. But what we will be looking at is kind of key skills linked to quantitative and qualitative sources. So hopefully that will be useful this time next week.
So that's this time next week for our second Changing Places session. Fantastic. Suzanne, Alice, thanks very much. Brilliant session. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget, if you don't give it a thumbs up, then Suzanne and Alice don't get paid. It's the way it is. Only kidding. So spread the word if you found it useful. Don't forget, if you go to tutoru.net live to the archive, to the replay, you can download the slides if you want to go through the questions at your leisure. But apart from that, fantastic session. We'll see you next week.
Brilliant.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye.
Bye.